Welcome back to JUCO Jam. This is season 3, episode 9. With me, as always, is Brandon Goebel himself, sporting Allegheny's own Steve franchise.
Yeah, the franchise.
Mr. Goebel, what a great week that was, and a great week ahead. Shall we jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Let's get into the rewind. On Wednesday night, we had a slugfest in East Texas. Panola with a big 50-42 win. The score was not wrong at half. Panola did lead 18-14 before an offensive explosion happened in the second half. The teams combined to hit 6 out of 35 from three. In the end, too much CJ Worsham and Coy Thurman, 13 points each. Worsham also had 11 rebounds. Big win there. Panola and Angelina split for the series. Panola currently third in Region 14. Trinity Valley and Angelina only one loss. Three good teams stand at the top of Region 14, Brandon.
Yeah, Angelina, kind of the dark horse team this year. I don't think anybody really saw that one coming. I didn't get to tune in until the second half. But as I was keeping up on my phone, I kept refreshing. I'm like,
Why isn't
this
the score changing?
why is the score the same? The time keeps moving, but the score's not changing. Something's wrong. It was not wrong. So yeah, kind of one of those games that I think at the beginning of the season, if you just said, hey, circle one that's going to have a lot of meaning to it in this time of year. I'm not sure that's the one you would have picked, but boy, it sure did mean something. And both of
And
those.
we're both still open to the idea and the concept of accepting Roadrunner swag.
Yes,
We're
I'm
just
not
putting that out.
opposed to it. I will always sport a good old fashioned meat meat. So,
Yeah.
I'm
Um, Thursday night, Brandon, as you know, the Battle of Buddy Hammer took
yeah.
place. And in the end, it was too much Coach Muse. Connor State with a 78-75 win. I'm going to give you some stats and just react, if you will. Buddy Hammer, 19 and 8 on 8 out of 9 field goals. NEO hit 59% of their field goals, had only 11 turnovers,
Yeah.
yet
Yet.
lost. At the time of the recording, there are no stats available for Connor State. Continue.
No commentary shall be made. Uh, Buddy Hammer, one of the most under-recruited players in the country, one of my favorite kids. He's just awesome. And Demarion Van Kelly's coming back from an injury, was not himself in that game. So definitely some, uh, I guess, like any NEO will be fine when Demarion's back healthy. I mean, look, he's one of the most prolific players in junior college this year. Like that's a significant loss, even if he's only at 70% or something. So,
And I'm a
um,
Chris Mason fan. Like I look inside, I see big 6'7", I don't know, 250 pounds of Chris Mason. I get excited about that. Like that kid's good in there. I like
you know,
him.
Connors is very good. Connors is always got talent.
Oh, coach.
You don't find much out about it until this time of year, but they are good, and they have every chance to win that region and make another run at Hutch. So, it's
The sleeping giant has been awakened. We're playing Division One games, and they're really good at it. And they're a fun team to watch, and they had a big win last night as well. Also on Thursday night, more than just the Battle of Buddy Hammer, we had a great matchup out in Idaho. Snow comes away with a big 93-89 victory. CSI played really well, still without Isaac Hawkins. Dale Griffin battling injuries, all year long. He came back 20 points. I know he was one of the kids that you had at JA 48 that you were really high on, but Snow, man, they're just so efficient.
yeah.
And I mean, they just shoot the ball so well. Nicaden Adams with 27, Isaac Finlinson with 16, Mark Brown Jr. with 12, Isaac Garrett had a double-double. Here they are. They score 93 points, Brandon. 6 turnovers. 6.
Wild. I mean, they really are a machine of efficiency with how they play. They can score from everywhere. Isaac Finlinson, for me, is really kind of the keystone to all that because of his ability to stretch the floor so much, his ability to switch. He hits the glass hard. He's just a high motor, hard playing dude that I think like really just allows the other guys to do the things that they're great at. Isaac can score the heck out of the ball, but he'll really kind of take on whatever role is needed in that game. And so, for me, like Isaac's in that conversation for National Player of the Year this year. And I it's going to be so interesting to watch as they kind of wrap up the conference play here and get into the districts and all that sort of thing. Like, does this machine just keep churning through, because it's really hard to scout too. It's, hey, which guy are they going to pass to? I don't know, man. Whichever one you're not guarding very well.
The
Like,
good news is they only have 9 players, and the scouting report is at least probably it's on a one page. So
right,
you're
right.
not flipping through pages, but the 9 guys they play are terrific. And you put so much emphasis on the Isaacs,
Yeah.
and then Adams goes out and buries you with 27. Trujillo hits threes. Cole comes off the bench and gets in your grill and hits some threes and gets into the lane. Like it's just guy after guy after guy. I mean, to me, this is like Jack Sikma's dream, right? They got a bunch of bigs in there, and they're the only team in the country that I can think of in the past decade. Their big guys like never bring the ball down. Like they catch it high, they throw it high, another person catches it. They never bring the ball like below chin level. Like it's such a
That tells
pretty
me
feat.
there's a drill that's run every day, maybe, that ingrains that into their coconuts.
I know maybe they call it Mayday. I don't know what it is. Coach May doing a great job. Hey, he's a coach that might be at the Division 1 level someday. We might see Coach May on a bigger platform. Brandon, we had 3 great games on Saturday, and I'm just gonna roll through 3 of them real quick, and then you give your reaction. Vincennes goes on the road to Carterville. At the time, Logan 9-1 at home. Their only loss on the season was a 2-point defeat to Indian Hills. Vincennes wins 80-74. LeBron Thomas with 22. Hussein Amaraji comes off the bench with 16-7. Brian Akanmu 13-9, 7 offensive boards. Great performance from Vincennes. Staying in that geographic region of the country, Triton gets a big win at home, 71-60 over Southeastern Iowa. VJ Wallace, 20 points, 8 assists. Tolu Samuels, 1 board short of a rebound. Maybe we can restat that game, 10-9. And then we go into the Panhandle. Pensacola on the road goes to Chipola, the home of Donnie Tyndall, and comes away with a big 71-63 win. One of your JA48 guys, Dimitri Clerk, 19 and 14, big double double. Will Vassar, the Kaskaskia transfer, 16 points. Will Vassar's good for like 4 threes every game. Antonio Baker with 20 for Chipola. Trent Lincoln, the lefty, 15. Big day on Saturday, Brandon. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, that Pensacola Chipola game was kind of the key piece there for me. Dimitri Clark has probably improved more consistently from last season to this season than it might be him and Isaac Finlinson, right? Like the two guys that have just continually, it seems like every week, improved. To have a big man in junior college that can effectively get things done like that, it's tough in JUCO, right? Things move very quickly. And a lot of times, big guys are actually better at the next level than they are in JUCO, just because of the style of play and plays being run for him and stuff. Dimitri has been one of those that it just doesn't really seem to matter. Like, he's just gone into a whole different mode this year, for getting things done. So, he's a huge part of their success, which I think will continue the rest of the year here. And so it's going to be really, really interesting to see who's going to come out of that Florida region, because, gosh, there's just so much talent down there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Monday, we had a terrific basketball game. South Plains with a big 105-96 win over Midland. That was Midland's first Region 5 loss of the season. Trey Clark, Antonio Hearns, who we featured last week, had 18. Jaden Kimpson, point guard, terrific game, 16 points, 7 boards, 7 assists. Robert Dix comes off the bench for 19. For the Texans, Caleb Blackwell, who might get himself into the conversation for National Player of the Year before it's all over. 26 points, 11 assists, 4 steals. Arterio Morris playing himself back into the rotation with 25, and then Isaac Taveras with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Just a fun game to see 200 points scored at the junior college level, and just to see some really high level basketball.
Yeah, Arterio Morris is a he's a pro. And so, yes, like him being back, obviously from a star standpoint, his ability to just go get things done helps a ton. But the reality is that him being in the game opens up so many things for everybody else, guys like Blackwell, to then actually be able to really play their game. South Plains with when they're fully healthy and everybody's together is a buzzsaw. And
I thought Midland played really well last night
I
too.
mean, that's a great like. I can guarantee you that Isaac is not talking about the moral victory in that, because that's just not who he is. But I think hopefully in the back of his head he understands like there's some moral victory there where it's like, hey, we just ran into a team that absolutely isn't in conversation for a national championship when they're all healthy and together, and like we went toe to toe with them. We can go with anybody in the country. So I hope those players take away from that there was definitely some positives to glean from.
Yeah, quick recap before we get into this week's rundown, if I can. In the Whack-Jack, Midland and South Plains sit atop at 7-1 apiece. Frank Phillips and Odessa tied at third at 5-3. In the Panhandle, Pensacola with an early 5-1 lead. Chipola at 3-2. Northwest Florida 2-2. And in this crazy Kansas region, Cali 14-2. Coffeyville 13-2, a half game back. Butler 11-4. Barton 11-5. And I was high on Hutchinson a few weeks ago. They fell jinx to the JUCO Jam. They got JUCO Jam jinxed. It is what it is. They're 10-6, 8 games to go. Still in this, they could still get themselves into that top four. Any quick thoughts or takeaways there, Brandon, on that recap of the kind of the big three power regions?
I actually the more that I watch this and the more that we see it now, I love what the Jayhawk does. Because it's we hear all these different scenarios where teams can play a bunch of non-conference, teams can't play a bunch of non-conference, whatever. And so in the Jayhawk, there are teams that are capable of affording to be able to go around and play some really good non-conference, and there's a window in there for them to do that. But let's be honest, like most of these JUCO teams are not trying to play, 12 really good non-conference games. They just can't afford it, right? And the travel,
Take another lap around your region, people. Take
yeah,
another,
like
do a third lap. It's okay.
there's really good teams in so many of these regions that could actually benefit from playing a third game, only because there's varying economics that have come into play. Now there's some teams that just refuse to go out and do anything. Fine, then make them play in conference more instead of racking up JV wins or something. So I don't know. Seeing breakdowns like that, like some of those Florida teams and whatever, like they're out doing the real deal. But then you see the Jayhawk one and you're like, man, actually that's pretty cool. Like having a really strong conference slate.
Absolutely. Let's get into the rundown. We have some great games this week that we want you to mark on your calendar because your week's not going to be complete if you're not watching these games. Wednesday night, Pensacola, Northwest Florida, Hutch at Coffeyville, Butler at Barton. Where is Brandon's attention Wednesday night?
Pensacola, Northwest Florida is a big one. There's a little bit of a inflection point that's going to start happening here with these teams where they're at in their conference rankings, and needing to climb into those at-large discussions. This is a big, big, big game for both teams, and so I think that's one that I'll definitely be tuning into. And let's be honest, we're going to have all of them on,
We're gonna
but
watch them all. Yeah, we're gonna watch them all.
watch them all. We're
Um,
gonna text about them. We're gonna have a beverage and just sit back, and the our little group chat that we have is gonna be on fire.
I know maybe a triple dipper is in play. We'll see. Now, Thursday for the JUCO fans out there, I want to make sure that you're aware of Holmes at Jones. I know it's Mississippi Mondays. They also play on Thursday. Holmes is 17-2. Little sleepy 17-2. They lose their first game of the season at Arkansas State Newport by 4, and then they basically run the table until their very last game. They get defeated by Eastern Mississippi 63-53. Head coach Jason Flanagan, a really good coach. Cameron Wallace averaging 21-8. Jones is terrific. They've been kind of the team that's been destined to return to Hutch, but there's a lot of good teams in Mississippi. I watched East Mississippi go toe to toe with Jones last night for 35 minutes in Scuba, but just too much of the fighting Coach Newton Mealers down the stretch. I like this matchup. I think it's going to be a game that fans will appreciate.
Mississippi basketball is so good, and it's just hard. given the area and the economics and all that sort of thing, for them a lot of times to kind of have like a bunch of teams up at the top of national consciousness. Obviously, Jones has been very, very good. But Coach Flanagan is a really, really good ball coach. And if a Holmes winds up in the national tournament, you do not want to run into them. Cord
And,
Wright.
and we wouldn't be surprised,
No,
right?
no, a bunch of teams in there that you would say like, well, that's not surprising.
Right.
There's a ton of talent there, and so yeah, one of those regions that's I don't know what the Division 1 comp is like a Missouri Valley, right? Where it's like, hey, anybody in here could like go and just win a massive, massive game, but it kind of is what it is in the context of big things. So those games are always fun to watch because you're going to see some great basketball.
So Thursday night, mark it on your calendar. Of course, we got Whack-A-Jack action. We got Odessa Midland. We got South Plains at New Mexico. What a huge week this could be for South Plains. They get the win early in the week against Midland. Now they go on the road to New Mexico against a really good Thunderbirds team. They have to deal with that giant logo in the middle of the court that's gorgeous. Talk about probably what Coach Hayden Sowers is thinking. He's got to be happy getting that one win, but this could be a big change the trajectory of the season and where we're at from a national standpoint.
It's really kind of that for both teams, because New Mexico would win a lot of regions running away, right? And so this is a huge opportunity for the T-Birds at home to get, a major signature win and kind of start moving in the right direction for this last month to make that push. Whereas South Plains is, starting to, has kind of already started to make that push, and now
Yeah.
this is a big one for them to really kind of, I think, explode as a team, really gather themselves and realize, okay, we can really make a run at this thing. But I would not want to be going into Hobbs this week with the urgency I think that the T-Birds probably feel in this one.
Yeah, I think the T-Birds have won all the games that we thought they would win, right? But now it's can they take the next step to win some of those games against the elite Region 5 programs and coaches. And speaking of elite coaches, Saturday, Trinity Valley, Greg Heyer goes to Angelina, a very hot Angelina team. This is for first place in Region 14, and I think this is the marquee game on Saturday.
Yeah, which again, beginning of the season, not what everybody would have guessed, but that's what's so awesome about junior college basketball, where the rosters turn over constantly, and it's like a team that was not very good, all of a sudden now is like, hey, we're gonna go screw some stuff up here. Watch this, um,
Maybe.
meet meet. At the beginning of the season, everybody had Trinity Valley circled. GH coming in there and loading up that roster, and here come the Meat Meeps to try and see what they can do.
I promise you, Angelina's had that game circled all year long.
100%.
When we return, we're going to get into the spotlight with Coach Joey Cantons from Daytona. Stay with us. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Hey everyone, welcome back to JUCO Jam. We are so excited today to have Coach Joey Cantons with Daytona State, the Falcons, ranked fourth in the country. Coach Cantons, thanks so much for coming on JUCO Jam and not being afraid of the JUCO Jam jinx.
Appreciate you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
First time he's heard about it, now he's sweating bullets. So
No, when Nick messaged me, I said, "Oh, I think we're good now. I think the curse is broken." So all good. Come on.
there is a sequence of events that have to take place. One person must deny coming on JUCO Jam and specifically mention the fear of the jinx. They must then go lose. Then there must be a hero that rises up and accepts the challenge.
From the
That was
ashes.
Josh Davis. He was the Phoenix who rose from the ashes. He
Yeah.
reversed the curse with some big wins last week. And here you are. This is a safe place now, coach. It's a safe place. Coach, you were named head coach of Daytona State June of 2021. You get to Hutchinson, Kansas last year, playing the first game against Walter State. If I could, I want to take you back to that really painful moment. You lose. This is exactly how you want to start every interview. You lose 85-82 to Walter State in the sports arena, a really good Walter State team who I think probably gave Barton their best game. But you had some key guys that returned, from that team. Dorcius, Cuevas, big contributors to this team. What do you think that you learned from that trip to the national tournament that you've taken with you into this season?
Yeah, so it was amazing for our group just to even get there and an honor, to be honest. And those three guys, they'll never forget the experience. It was unbelievable just being in Kansas, the atmosphere, the arena, everything together. And really since then they've been talking about we got to get back there, we got to get back there. And I guess Division One is turning into it also, but JUCO, we only had three returners. But it's been cool to see those guys work all summer, all preseason. Even today, we already went this morning. They're the first ones in the gym, kind of setting the tone for we have to get back to Hutch. What a cool experience. And appreciate you humbling us with the first question. But we left with such a bad taste in our mouth that we got to get back there and see if we can do something more.
All right, well, we'll go in a positive direction here. Isaiah Dorcius has been one of my favorite players all season. I think he can actually play point guard at the Division One level. I know you have some other point guards on your team, and you asked a lot out of him. Talk a little bit about his progression as a player from his freshman to sophomore season.
So I'm going to take it back even farther. He initially signed at an NAIA school coming out of high school. So his evaluation, he was an NAIA player, and it didn't work out, and really was distraught when I'm going to say it this way, when he had to go JUCO, because I think the perception is changing a lot, but really distraught when he had to go JUCO, and it's been really cool to see him change his body, change his work ethic, really mature in 2 years. And has become a leader for Daytona State. And when you talk about our culture and our work ethic and why we're 6 a.m. program, it really starts with him and Dylan and Huascar, our three returners that set the tone from the summer of this is how we do it and this is why we win. So everybody else had to fall in line.
I want to give you a lot of credit because I think you guys really enhanced your schedule from last year to this year. You went out, you played some really tough games. You opened the season going out to Southern Idaho. You lose a close one to CSI, 89. Was it? My score that I wrote down is wrong. I know it's wrong. 89-81.
Yeah.
Was that what it was? Close game there. I watched it. It was closer than the score looks. You guys go to Northwest Florida. You lose a close one there, 88-83. You do the Pensacola Thanksgiving Classic, which I think is one of the best little gyms in the country. Defeat Gulf Coast, defeat Tallahassee. You defeat Chipola, and then you play Monroe, New York. You get them. I mean, I got to give you an A++. I feel like you did everything you could to enhance the visibility for your kids and the program. Talk a little bit, if you could, about the mindset of what you did from a scheduling perspective this year.
So I flipped it, and even so 2 years ago now, we were number 8 in the country and didn't get into the national tournament. So a little bit of it stems from there. And then last year, I felt our guys were hungry. Those three guys in particular were hungry, were driven. I wanted it to give us a different challenge for a couple reasons. But we get to the region tournament last year, and we lose in the first round. We get to the national tournament, we lose in the first round. And I thought, if we really have the roster and we have the team to do this, we have to challenge ourselves early if you want any chance to win a tournament game. They're too hard. I mean, you get to that level, it's the best of the best. But our November was brutal. Our trips, our travel, up to the Panhandle, back down 6 hours, very next weekend, back up to the Panhandle, playing another hard tournament. But I think, right now we're at 20, I believe, 20 game win streak, but our guys really built a level of toughness and confidence in the way we prepare and the way we do things where we're a machine right now. I mean, our guys are dialed into doing everything the right way every day. And if you want to win in a tournament setting, in the big stage, you have to approach it that way. And I think that early November hard schedule is really good for us to mature. Our group matured very early.
Coach, I'm going to hijack it from Nick real quick, which I normally don't do, but I was thinking about this as you're talking. In November there, you're talking about those long road trips, right? Those 6 hours there, 6 hours back. And, Hutch is basically a really long road trip, right? And there's that feeling of have we kind of done this before? But the other thing too that I'd be curious your thoughts on is when these kids, early on, if you're playing lots of home games, you're playing, even if it's tough, but you're around your area, whatever, that's fine. But like those road trips, there sure is a lot that the guys learn about each other, I think, too, in November. And
You're,
like,
you're forced to sit at a restaurant together. You're forced to
yeah,
spend time in the hotel. That's when the true
really
team.
find out who you're going to be in the trenches with for the rest of the year, as opposed to like, yeah, I'll see you, tomorrow kind of
Yep,
thing.
yep, yep, yep.
Speaking about guys that I'd like to be in the trenches with, I love Jalen Payne, one of my favorite freshmen in the country. I know he's probably one of Brandon's favorite freshmen as well. You have some older guys on the team, you have transfers, then you have this strapping young man. Talk a little bit about Mr. Payne and what he's brought to the Falcons.
So he's been awesome, and I think he's bought into the culture. And I'm a big believer of this. He had some adversity last year. Everything hasn't gone perfect for him throughout his career. And you have two decisions to make. You either learn and grow from it, or you say, well, that's why. We call it suffering. You suffer through it and say, well, that's why I didn't have success. He's embraced his failures and really bought into the work ethic, how hard he goes every day. Doesn't complain. He's just unbelievable to have around. But it's just been a solid piece for us every day. And I don't know, I'm not 100%, but I believe he's still, if he's not number one in the country in field goal percentage, he's top five, and he's just very simple, very efficient, and just does the same thing every day in practice, every day in the game. And he's been awesome to coach.
Now, I've been asking some easy softball questions before I turn it over to Brandon. I've been getting a lot of coach speak. So I went to Chat GPT and I reworded my question to try to make it a little bit more challenging for you. All right, here we go. What are you most looking forward to during this next 6 weeks of the regular season leading up to the national tournament?
So our group has taken an approach day by day. We are off. I know this sounds crazy, Nick. You post daily the top 25. We are off the rankings. We are off what everybody else is doing. Our region poll doesn't matter. We are completely about us. And I think that approach has been really good for our guys. And to be honest, we just talked about the hard schedule. I think that gave us a reality check too, where we can't worry about what CSI is doing, what Northwest Florida is doing, what these other teams around the country are doing. We got to handle our own business. And our guys have matured through that process, and we're really locked in through what are we going to do today to get better? Because
in a perfect world, would you love to see a couple of Panhandle games sprinkled in February for Daytona State instead of everything being so shifted towards November and so much emphasis put on that first month of the season?
yeah, right now everybody should be playing their best basketball. You're more familiar. I know the NBA went to this, but almost like a cup, what they do internationally. Throw in a cup series, a Florida Cup series, where you sprinkle in some random games in there. Yeah, it would be cool because right now, I mean, we're a different team than we were in November, same as everybody else.
Nick, did you just hear him say Florida Cup brought to you by JUCO Jam for next year? I might have.
I love it. And we're going to host it at Daytona State.
That's
We'll
what I
find a
heard.
way.
I don't
We'll
know.
find a way. It's really hard for us to get games, so anything we can do to be creative, we're in.
What's the proximity to a Chili's around there? It's actually like the
4 minutes. 4 minutes. And the other direction is 4 minutes to the beach.
Oh my Lord. What
The
are we-
Chili's Beach Bash.
I'm in. Well, I get the last hardest question here. Speaking of the temple that is Chili's. Uh, Big game, big win. You say, you know what? I'm taking the guys out for something special. We're headed to Chili's, boys. What are you eating at Chili's?
Can't tell you the last time I was at Chili's. I have no idea. No idea.
No idea. Nick, is this a first?
I think this is a first. I guess at least he didn't give us Cajun pasta.
I,
All right,
I think the sponsorship opportunity's gone like that.
Coach, I need you to go to Chili's today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to send a
You
check.
let me know. You let me know what you get. I'll Venmo you.
Nick, I
I'll
think he needs some recommendations, honestly. I mean, if he's this like out of sorts with it, that menu will overwhelm him. It'll be like running into a 2-3 zone when somebody's been playing man all year and he's like, "Holy God, what do we do now?" You know?
It's just like an offensive coordinator who's never called plays before. You just have the play sheet. You're just like flipping the play sheet into all the different directions.
What do I do?
I think you go chicken based. I think you go with like a chicken bacon quesadilla, and you do some Southwest egg rolls. Have a blackberry iced tea, something nice and casual.
Cash. Keep it cash.
Keep it casual, just in and out. Nice experience. Send me your receipt. I'll hit you up on Venmo or Zelle, whatever you use, and we'll
Love
take
it.
care
I
of
love
it.
it. I love it.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. Been super fun to watch. Super fun to watch you going forward here, and hopefully all goes as planned. And we reconvene in Hutchinson, Kansas, where there is a Chili's, and maybe Nick and I will take you out for a triple dipper or something like that.
After a win, I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, well, when we come back, we're going to jump into the grind.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
What makes a life a good one? Is it our adventures? Or the friends we find along the way? Is it the challenges we conquer together? Maybe it's the people's lives we touch every single day. So, what makes a life a good one? You'll have to figure that one out for yourself.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. We're now going to get into the grind where we're talking about current junior college player having some really good success. Today, we're going to talk about a young man who you know really well, Brandon, and that's Brian Akonmu, 6'6", 235 pounds, originally from Paris, France. He's currently at Vincennes. He's had a really good season for a good Trailblazer team. He's averaging 8.7 rebounds. But during this recent 13-game, win streak for Vincennes, he's been playing essentially 100% power forward. He's averaging closer to 13 and 8. I think he's kind of found his way into Coach Franklin's offense. But talk a little about Brian and his story.
Yeah, I first met Brian in Paris. I was over there running a camp, and he was playing at Myerscough in England at the time. And so him and some buddies all jumped on a plane and popped over the channel there and came to participate in this camp. I think everybody from that group ended up playing Division I junior college basketball, and Brian, like right off the bat, was somebody that was just super super special from a character standpoint. He was asking what he could do to help. He was helping translate a lot of things. He was just kind of really just a great kid right off the bat. Then we started playing, and you could tell that he was pretty special immediately, just from a physicality and a toughness standpoint. And him finding his stride now with Coach Franklin is not surprising. Coach Franklin's a tough coach, and he's going to do everything that he can to pull the best out of you, and sometimes that's a painful process. And Brian is one of those that I think craves that. wants to be coached hard, wants to be tough. And now it's just all kind of coming together for him. He does not have an easy life back home. His mother is blind. He's got several siblings. He has to watch out for. It's something that I think has molded who he is as a character and as a player. And so now that we're seeing that play out on the national stage, I'm just really really proud of him. Knowing where he's come from and all the work that he's had to do to get to where he's at. He's absolutely a Division I player. Somebody's going to wise up at some point here and go on him and have him help them win a whole bunch of games.
So I got some notes from people in Vincennes. They say one of the first kids in the weight room, very good student, great in the community, great with the kids, which is just a wonderful thing to hear. But you mentioned about Coach Franklin, like he's going to demand that you're tough, right? There's no part of being a part of Coach Franklin's family where you're going to be able to be soft.
Yep.
And if I'm a Division I coach, I can guarantee you that if Coach Franklin vouches for you and says, "Hey, Brian's good enough to play, at this level," and Coach Franklin will know what that is, whether it's OVC or whatever. I'm saying you might want to get on Brian early because if he goes to the national tournament and he gets 13-8 in big games in the national tournament, it might be too late.
Yeah.
So I think there's
Ponto 2.0. Like nobody wanted the 6'4" man until Missouri State did, and he's been
he's
one
doing
of the
pretty. He's doing pretty well. And if Coach Franklin says that you can play at that record or at that level, Coach Franklin has a pretty good record of making it happen. So, where Vincennes is located, where Brian's at today, I mean, they are perfectly nestled in OVC country.
Just saying.
And I'm just thinking if I'm an OVC team, and I'm just saying like USI, Evansville, both about an hour away from Vincennes, you might want to get on it early because if he goes out to the national tournament, it may not be an option for you. So we like Brian by all accounts. He's a great kid. He's good in the community, good on the floor, good in the classroom. Let's get this kid some offers. What do you say?
Oh, come on.
If you don't know how to get in touch with Brian directly, reach out to Brandon. Brandon will get you connected. Let's get Brian scholarship. All right, here we go. As we transition into the show, we're going to talk about a former junior college player doing huge things. And today we're going to talk about Brian Moore, 6'2", 185 pounds at Norfolk State, originally at NEO before transferring to Murray State. What a terrific season Brian is having. 19 points a game, 84% from the free throw line, 42% from three. Last I checked, he had 3 games of 30 or more. I'm not surprised he's doing well because he was so good at NEO, but it's just so cool to see his success translate, to the big stage that is Division I basketball.
Yep, buzzer beater game winner against NC Central the other night. He just he's taken his game to a whole nother level because the stat in there that you and I both know everybody was complaining about out of junior college was the shooting, right? Like, he can't shoot, he can do whatever. Well, now he can shoot. And so it's been fun to watch him, Murray State, he was good at Murray State, but there's definitely just kind of I think it's one of those things where it was time for a change to try and find, what's that path to really elevate, do the things that are going to get me paid for a long time, as a pro. And so Brian has matured a ton over that time. He's got great hair right now, by the way. But he's matured a ton. I was FaceTiming with him the other day, and I was like, I love that hair. So it just that change was positive, and I mean he's the MEAC Player of the Year. I'll not be shocked at all if he ends up winning that award. And so it's just great to see somebody that we've talked about on this show a lot in the past, and so somebody that made a change, reaping the super positive benefits from it, and it's going to be exciting to see how the rest of his career pans out.
I mean, we have had so much Oklahoma talk in the past 2 weeks. It's unbelievable. I mean, Oklahoma has put JUCO on notice.
We're on notice. Yeah.
I'll notice. I love it. All right. When we return, stay with us. We're going to get into our closing thoughts that we call the sixth man.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. This is our closing thoughts. We like to call it the sixth man. You know, Brandon, we were chatting about it, and we were talking about Eastern Arizona. Eastern Arizona, the Gila Monsters, they could be a complete chaos grenade for the NJCAA selection committee and trying to figure out what to do with this great group of Gila Monsters. There is the possibility if they went out the regular season, they could have, I think, 26 Division I wins in the regular season. And they got a couple of ugly losses. They lost to Arizona Western. They lost to Southern Nevada. I'm sure those are games that they would love to have back. But it's a talented team. You know a little bit about some of the players on that team and the talent they have. But this is going to be a really interesting case study, especially with the fact that it's completely open for the selection committee to take 8 at-larges. Just talk about the Gila Monsters and kind of the state of Gila Nation, if you will, in Thatcher.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, we have these standards that we in junior college have to, I don't know, change a little bit back and forth, trying to find this path that works perfectly. Junior college is a different space than the NCAA, but it's also been, to its credit, willing to be more malleable when it comes to making sure that we're doing the right things. You know, Region 1, not as strong as some others, but it's, you know, it's not a cupcake by any means. There are some good players that come out of there. Yaxel Lindeberg's going to be in
All right.
he'll be in the top 10 for National Player of the Year, right? Like at the Division 1 level. So pretty good player. But you know, Eastern Arizona has quite a number of Division 1 talented players on their roster. So it's not like low-level players winning a bunch of games. Like, these are high-level players. They're winning a lot of games. Southern Nevada is better this year than they were last year. They've played some really good ones. Arizona Western is always, you know, got talent and is well coached and is tough. And then other than that, you say, okay, well, you know, you got to go out and you got to get these Division I wins. Well, they've done that, and they've traveled as well. You know,
Traveled a lot.
yeah, Thatcher is not close to anything. And they've gone out and traveled and said, okay, we're going to go do the things that you've asked us to do. And they've been very successful at doing that. And so now you're kind of in this conversation of, like, you know, back when Murray State was, you know, winning 28, 29 games, had a few losses. And then the question is, do you take a Murray State versus, you know, some middle of the conference, you know, higher.
Yeah, the ninth Big Ten team, right?
Right.
Do we take
Yeah.
Rutgers or Murray State?
Right. And
The
so
age-old question.
I think Eastern Arizona, should they win out, which is still a tall order, but should they win out, you know, hey, what else do you want a team to do, you know, at that point? Because where you and I think, consistently agree is that if you're taking advantage of the fact that you have really good games in your conference schedule and thus you don't schedule much in the way in your non-conference, well, then that just doesn't do as much for me as maybe a team that really goes out and tests themselves and does everything they possibly can and has the wins to back it up.
Yeah. And even to make it more interesting, is the biggest knock, I think, against them is they don't have any marquee wins. They haven't beat any of the big name teams in the country. And they have the resources and the money to either go to those places or to bring those teams to Thatcher. and they can't get anybody to agree to play them. That's at
Nope,
the
they'll do
top.
it.
So they're like completely in limbo. This is like the twilight world. All right, we have money, we have resources, we want to play, and we want to play the games, but they
Yep.
can't get anybody to come to them, and they can't get anybody to agree to let them come there. So they're in this weird spot, and I'm sure they're like, what else can we do? Well, all you can do now is win the games.
Right.
And I guess that's the beauty of the system with the format of the national tournament is everybody has a path to Hutch. It does involve winning games and winning on the road in their case this year,
Yeah.
but they might have to do it the hard way.
Now you win out, right? You win everything out. You win your regional, and then you go to district, and you face the number one team. Let's say, presumably at the time, who knows? Who knows? But let's just theorize, the number one team in the country in the district, and you don't win that game, but you've won 26 Division One games,
Yeah. And I
27.
will give Snow credit because one of their three losses was to Snow.
Yep.
Snow came to Thatcher and played, right? I mean, Coach May will play anybody, anywhere. He would have played the game in Jamaica or Russia or wherever. He doesn't
Better
care.
win than people realize either, too, like going down to Thatcher and getting that win. But your two of your four losses could end up being to the number one team in the country, and you've won 26 games. I don't think I want to be the guy that leaves that team out of the tournament, but they don't give me a vote. So
It's going to be really fascinating to see how it all plays out. It's why I think junior college basketball is the greatest story in sports. And it just keeps getting better from here. Like each week builds and builds and builds. It's the ultimate like 6 week showcase down the final stretch until it all comes to this epic conclusion, which is 1 week. Well, now it's more than 1 week. It's 8 days in Hutchinson,
glory.
Kansas, in the glorious sports arena on Butterfield Court. So can't wait for that. Every week is important. Guys, we gave you some great games to watch this week. Make sure you check them out. Mark your calendar. Brandon, wish you and all of our viewers a wonderful sports week.